I am the real heiress who was lost for years. The system ordered me to tear everyone apart. My biological mother held the fake heiress tightly. Even though you are my biological daughter, Stella has been with us for 18 years. We cannot live without her. The system screamed in my head. Hurry up, flip the table, scold them for being biased. I nodded. This is very normal. 18 years of emotional bonding versus 18 years of blood relation. If it were me, I would also choose the emotional bond. After all, blood is just biological probability, while emotion is a tangible sunk cost. My biological mother froze. My fiancé threw a check in my face. Take the money and get lost. I don't love a country bumpkin. The system screamed again. Tear up the check. Tell him not to trample on others with money. I carefully tucked the check away. This is also very normal. You can't force love. A breakup fee is actually very professional. My fiancé was stunned. The system collapsed. Host, I beg you, please go crazy. The script can't run like this, I replied calmly. I am very normal. It is you guys who watch too many melodramas. In the living room of the Vance family villa, the air conditioning was blasting, but I could still smell the strong scent of a green tea batch. My biological mother, Mrs. Grace Vance, was hugging the girl who had stolen 18 years of my life. Stella Vance. Stella cried like rain, her shoulders trembling as if she were about to faint. Grace patted her back while looking at me with complicated eyes. Serena, she said, even though you are my blood, Stella has been with us for so long. That bond cannot be cut just like that. We hope you understand our difficulties, Mr. Robert Vance stood by, sighing, his hands clasped behind his back, clearly agreeing silently. The system exploded. Host, can you stand this? Rush up and wake these confused parents up. Flip the tea table. Tell them you are the real daughter. The system was so loud it gave me a headache. I rubbed my temples. Under the tense gaze of the three Vances, I nodded slightly. I understand. I completely understand. Stella's crying stopped instantly. Her wet eyelashes trembled, clearly not expecting my reaction. Grace was also stunned. You don't blame me? I found a single chair and sat down, looking relaxed like I was discussing business with a partner. It is very normal. 18 years of feelings versus 18 years of genetics. If I were you, I would choose feelings too. Genetics are just biology. Feelings are visible sunk costs. I pointed at the haute couture dress on Stella, then at my own cheap clothes. You have invested 18 years of money, time, and effort into her, like leveling up a high-level gaming account. Now, asking you to switch to a new level 1 account? Who would want that? This is basic economics. I get it. The living room fell into silence. Grace's face stiffened. She wanted to explain, but my logic choked her. The system went mad. Host, what are you talking about? You have to fight for favor. You have to slap their faces. I ignored the system's rambling and turned to Stella, my voice sincere. Please continue crying. Don't mind me. I am just a new intern. A new family member. I am still getting used to the environment. Stella was definitely a high-level green tea. After a few seconds of shock, she switched tactics immediately. She left Grace's arms, walked up to me with red eyes, and timidly reached out her hand. Sister, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I stole your place. If you are unhappy, I can move out. According to the original script, I should slap her or say something cruel, then get scolded by the parents. The system yelled, Opportunity! Scold her! Kick her out! I looked at Stella's manicured hands. I didn't shake them. Instead, I pulled a pack of wet wipes from my pocket and handed it to her. Don't say that. The deed to this house is in Mr. and Mrs. Vance's names. Legally speaking, we are both just temporary guests here. I paused, then continued in an academic tone. Also, where would you move to? You have no real estate under your name and no ability to live independently. Renting outside risks scams. hotels are too expensive. As a rational person, staying here is the optimal choice for maximum benefit. If I were you, I wouldn't leave either. Stella's hand froze in midair. All her prepared, passive-aggressive lines were blocked by my blunt facts. Her drama about sacrificing for family turned into staying for survival because of me. It was so realistic, she had no room to act. Mr. Vance finally frowned. Serena, what are you saying? Stella is your sister. What do you mean by refusing to leave? This is her home too. I nodded immediately, obedient like an excellent employee receiving instructions. Yes, Mr. Vance. I will remember that. Miss Stella Vance has permanent residency rights. So, may I ask where my workstation is? I mean, where is my room? The distant title Mr. Vance stabbed him. His face turned ugly. Let the butler take you. The butler was a middle-aged man in his 50s. His eyes held a hint of disdain. In this house it was easy to see which way the wind blew. He led me to a room at the end of the second-floor hallway. Miss Serena, the house is short on rooms. Miss Stella has many belongings and occupies 2 rooms, so I have to trouble you to stay here temporarily. The room was dark, the windows small. It had only a bed and a wardrobe, not even a decent desk. Earlier, I passed Stella's room. It had a walk-in closet, a large balcony, and full pink decor. The system hissed with rage. This is too much! Is this a servant's room? Host, destroy Stella's room! Take it back! I looked around and nodded with satisfaction. Very good. Low light is good for sleep. Small space saves electricity. Far from the stairs means it's quiet. The butler's prepared sarcasm felt like punching cotton. Totally useless. He looked at me in disbelief. Miss Serena, aren't you angry? I put down my luggage and took out my laptop. Why be angry? I am a parachute hire. New to the company. New to the house. No achievements, no seniority. Getting a private office is already good enough. Should I expect to sit directly in the CEO's office? I looked at the butler, my eyes sincere. By the way, what is the Wi-Fi password? Is the network fast? I have to work overtime tonight. The butler gaped. Finally, he squeezed out a string of numbers and left silently. I closed the door. The system was still unwilling. Are you stupid? They are humiliating you. I opened my laptop, connected to the Wi-Fi, and opened the stock trading board. System, you are too emotional. Does humiliation make me lose a piece of meat? No. But if I get angry and smash things, I have to pay for damages. I only have $200 on me right now. I can't afford it. Dinner time arrived. The atmosphere at the table was so weird it caused indigestion. Grace wanted to show motherly love, constantly putting food in Stella's bowl and peeling shrimp for her. Stella, you look thin lately. Eat more. Stella glanced at me provocatively and whined. Thank you, Mom. You treat me the best in the world. Mr. Vance also added soup for Stella occasionally. A happy family of 3, acting like I was a stranger sitting at their table. System. Flip the table. Throw the soup in Stella's face. I lowered my head and ate. Fast, but elegant. Years of corporate life trained me to finish a meal in 5 minutes. Lunch breaks are precious after all. Grace seemed to finally feel a twinge of guilt. She put a piece of ribs in my bowl. Serena, you eat too. Don't just eat plain rice. The ribs were covered in green peppers, something Stella hated. I looked at the ribs but didn't move my chopsticks. Stella immediately spoke up. Sister, don't you like what Mom gave you? Oh, I guess in the countryside, you didn't have ribs this good? I put down my chopsticks and wiped my mouth with a napkin. It's not that I don't like it, I am full. I stood up and bowed slightly to Mr. and Mrs. Vance. Thank you for the meal. The food suited my taste very well. If there is nothing else, I would like to return to my room to process some work. Mr. Vance paused. Work? You just came back. Won't you sit and chat with us? I glanced at the wall clock. It is 7:30 p.m. This is personal time. Besides, I see you are chatting happily. If I intrude, It will break the atmosphere. As a newcomer, I need to know how to read the room. I turned and left, leaving 3 dumbfounded faces behind. I faintly heard Grace complaining. Why is that child like a robot? She has no emotion at all. The corner of my lips curved up slightly. Emotion is for people. In their eyes, I am just an intruder with shared DNA. Talking about feelings is a luxury. Talking about rules is much easier. Early the next morning, the Vance villa welcomed an uninvited guest. Caleb Cole. He was Stella's fiancé and the man who was originally supposed to be engaged to me. This man was indeed handsome, wearing a bespoke suit, his hair styled perfectly. Unfortunately, his eyesight was terrible. As soon as he walked in, he saw me preparing to go to work. Actually, I was heading to the library to use the free air conditioning and save on my electricity bill. Without a word, Caleb pulled a check from his jacket pocket. He waved his hand lightly and threw it at me. The check fluttered to the ground. $1 million. Take the money and get lost. I don't love a country bumpkin. Caleb looked down at me from his height, his tone arrogant and cold. Stella stood at the top of the stairs, covering her mouth to hide a secret smile. The system screamed, its voice cracking. Tear up the check, hurry! Slap him in the face! Tell him not to use money to trample on human dignity. Revenge is a dish best served cold. I bent down and picked up the check. I carefully checked the amount, the signature, and the bank seal. I confirmed it was real. Then, I pulled a small notebook and a pen from my bag. Mr. Cole, please wait a moment. I quickly wrote a few lines, tore out the page, and handed it to Caleb. He instinctively took it, glanced at it, and froze. What is this? It is a receipt. I smiled, professional and standard. Since you have paid the breakup fee, we need to clarify the process to avoid future financial disputes. I continued. It clearly states that I have received $1 million from Mr. Caleb Cole. I voluntarily renounced the engagement. The goods and money have been exchanged. No refunds, no complaints. Caleb looked at me like I was a monster. You are actually accepting it? Why not? I carefully tucked the check into my book. This is very normal. Forced love isn't sweet. Besides, this melon comes with a $1 million breakup fee. You are truly the most conscientious partner in the industry. Mr. Cole, you are a generous business partner, I added thoughtfully. Do I need to write a thank you letter to your company? Or perhaps post on social media clarifying that I am unworthy of you? Caleb's face turned as red as pig liver. All the humiliating words he had prepared were blocked by my receipt. With this $1 million, my back straightened instantly. However, I didn't spend it lavishly as the system hoped. I immediately invested it in a few high-potential stocks. That evening, the atmosphere in the Vance house was even heavier than the day before. Mr. and Mrs. Vance sat on the sofa. Stella sat beside them, wiping away tears. As soon as they saw me, Mr. Vance slammed his hand on the table. Serena Vance, do you have no shame? How dare you accept money from Caleb? Stella sobbed. Sister, did you come back just for money? If you are short on cash, I can give you my allowance. How could you insult Caleb's feelings for me like that? The system yelled. Scold her back. Call out their double standards. I changed my slippers and walked to the center of the living room. I pulled a red silk banner from my bag. I had specially commissioned it that afternoon. The golden letters on it read, Thank you for being filial in my place. Wishing you 100 years of happiness. I solemnly handed the banner to Stella. Sister, I deserve this money completely. Think about it. The engagement was originally mine. Now it has transferred to you. So, this $1 million can be considered a transfer fee for the fiancé. I continued logically. In this economy, taking over a shop requires a transfer fee, let alone a high-quality asset like young Master Cole. Stella looked at the banner. She couldn't accept it, but she couldn't refuse it either. Her face turned from pale to moss green. Mr. Vance was shaking with anger. You treat marriage like a trade? Marriage, in essence, is an economic contract, I said seriously. If young Master Cole is willing to pay for true love, then I am the one facilitating both parties. If I didn't take the money, wouldn't that make his love look cheap? I turned to Stella, my eyes encouraging. Sister, your love is valued at $1 million. You should be happy. Stella burst into loud tears and ran straight upstairs. Grace pointed at me. You will truly be the death of me. I blinked innocently. Mom, I am protecting my sister's value. Perhaps to comfort Stella's wounded heart, Grace decided to take us shopping that weekend. Nominally, it was to buy clothes for me. But as soon as we entered the mall, Grace dragged Stella straight into the luxury designer stores. Stella, this dress suits you. Try it on. Stella, this bag is a new arrival. It looks lovely on you. I followed behind like a servant carrying bags. The system shouted, Host! Grab the credit card, max it out, show them who the real daughter is. I watched calmly as Grace swiped her card. My heart didn't waver a bit. In fact, when Stella tried on a pale yellow dress, I even stepped forward to help. This color is too bright. It washes out your skin tone. I suggest swapping it for that smoky blue one. It brightens the skin and flatters the figure. Stella looked at me warily. Since when are you so kind? I am doing it for the image of the Vance family, I said seriously. You are the face of the family. If you dress poorly, the whole family loses face. As part of the Vance family, I have an obligation to protect the brand image. Skeptical, Stella changed into the smoky blue dress. Indeed, the effect was beyond expectation. Even the sales staff praised her taste. Grace saw how beautiful Stella looked. Originally, she intended to give me the cold shoulder, but now she felt a twinge of guilt. She picked up a t-shirt from the discount rack and handed it to me. Serena, try this one. It was an outdated shirt, the fabric slightly pilling. The system raged. Throw it on the ground. Stomp on it. I took the shirt and checked the tag. No need to try it on. This shirt has high cotton content, good absorption, breathable, very suitable for working from home. Thank you, Mom. I like it very much. I wasn't angry. I thanked her sincerely. Grace's hand froze in midair. Her expression was spectacular. Guilt is like a spring. The more you resist, the more the other person feels you deserve it. But the more understanding you are, the more they feel like trash. Right now, obviously, Grace felt like trash. Back home, Stella was clearly unwilling to let me steal the spotlight today, even though I didn't feel like I stole anything. She deliberately broke Grace's favorite pearl necklace right in the middle of the living room. Pearls rolled everywhere. Then she screamed loudly, Sister, how could you push me? At that moment, I was standing at least 6 feet away from her, drinking water. Mr. and Mrs. Vance heard the noise and ran over. They saw the mess on the floor and Stella crying. Stella pointed at me. Sister said she was jealous because Mom bought things for me, so she pushed me. She even broke the necklace. This kind of cheap framing was an insult to my IQ. Mr. Vance glared at me. Serena, you have deeply disappointed me. The system panicked. Explain. Tell them you have an alibi. I put down my glass of water and sighed. Then, I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Hello, police? I want to report a crime. There has been a dispute here involving intentional property damage. The value is significant. Please send someone to handle it. The whole family froze. Stella forgot to cry. You actually called the police? I nodded. Seeking police help when in trouble is basic civic knowledge. Arguing back and forth is inefficient and leads to he said, she said scenarios. Let the police take statements, check fingerprints, and extract surveillance footage. The truth will be clear. Mr. Vance rushed over, trying to snatch my phone. Are you crazy? Domestic shame shouldn't be aired in public. I dodged him nimbly like a spider. Dad, this isn't airing domestic shame. This is the spirit of the rule of law. If I did it, I am ready to go to jail. But if my sister accidentally dropped it, this is defamation. Defamation also carries legal liability. Stella's face turned pale instantly. She just wanted me to get scolded. She didn't expect to get the police involved. The police arrived quickly. Seeing the scene in the villa, the two officers were surprised. Who reported the crime? I raised my hand. I did. I pointed at the pearls on the ground. Miss Stella Vance accused me of pushing her and destroying a high-value item, but I assert my innocence. Please take fingerprints from the necklace and check the living room cameras. Mr. Vance's face turned black. He laughed awkwardly at the police. Misunderstanding. It's just a misunderstanding. Kids playing around. The police looked stern. Filing a false report is a violation of the law. What exactly happened? Stella trembled with fear, hiding behind Grace, afraid to speak. I said calmly, "If it is a misunderstanding, that means Miss Stella admits she lied." Stella bit her lip, glared at me, and finally had to nod. I accidentally fell. I saw it wrong. I thought my sister pushed me. The police reprimanded the parents, telling them to educate their children more seriously and not to waste police resources. After seeing the police off, Mr. Vance slumped onto the sofa, looking 10 years older. He pointed a trembling finger at me. You unfilial child. Must you destroy this family?" I shrugged innocently. "Dad, I am helping Stella. If her habit of lying isn't fixed early, she will pay a heavy price in society later. I am just worried about her future. Only magic can defeat magic. Only logic can defeat emotion." Looking at the three Vances with faces like they had swallowed a fly, I felt refreshed as never before. After the police incident, the three members of the Vance family developed a strange fear of me. They stopped provoking me easily, and even started avoiding me. But that didn't mean they had given up. Stella's birthday party was coming up. This was a major event for the Vance family, and they planned to invite the entire upper class of the city. Grace called me into the study and handed me a dress. "Serena," she said, "this party is very important. To the public, we haven't announced your true identity yet. Just say you are a distant relative. You don't have an opinion on this, do you?" They were afraid I would embarrass them. They were also afraid Stella would feel awkward. The system protested. "Refuse! Reveal your true identity at the party. Make them lose face." I took the dress. It was a very simple black dress, suitable for blending into the background, like a shadow. "I have no opinion. None at all." I agreed quickly. Being a distant relative is great. No socializing. No toasting. I can focus entirely on the buffet. I asked seriously, "By the way, is the supply of Maine lobster unlimited tonight?" Grace was once again choked by my train of thought. All the comforting words she had prepared were stuck in her throat. You only care about eating? Food is the most important thing for the people," I replied earnestly. "Besides, as a distant relative, my KPI is just to eat and drink enough and not cause trouble for the host." On the day of the party, the Vance villa was ablaze with lights. Stella wore a custom-made haute couture gown, looking like a princess surrounded by endless compliments. Caleb stood by her side. They looked like a match made in heaven. I wore that simple black dress, standing quietly by the buffet counter in the corner, focused on peeling a large lobster. The system screamed furiously. "Host, look at how glorious they are! And you only know how to eat? Where is your self-respect? Can I eat self-respect? This lobster costs $60 a pound." I dipped the meat in butter sauce, put a large piece in my mouth, and closed my eyes in satisfaction. Just then a sarcastic voice rang out. "Oh, isn't this the country bumpkin who took the $1 million? What's wrong? Spent it all, so now you have to come here to freeload?" Caleb walked over with a glass of wine, surrounded by a group of rich heirs, his face full of mockery. I wiped my hands and looked up at him. "Good evening, Mr. Cole. The $1 million is not spent yet. The investment returns are quite good. Thank you for your concern. Caleb choked, then sneered. I heard you came today as a distant relative. What? Don't dare to acknowledge your biological parents? Laughter erupted around us. I nodded. That is correct. The Vance family is a prestigious clan. I am just someone from the countryside. I must know my place. I took a sip of water and continued. By the way, I heard that Coal Corp's stock dropped 2 points recently, yet you still have the leisure to drink here. Your psychological endurance is truly impressive. Caleb's face changed instantly. What do you know about stocks? Shut up. I don't know much, I admitted, but I know how to read the news. I held up my phone. Just got a notification. The logistics subsidiary of Coal Corp is being investigated for regulatory violations. Aren't you going to answer your phone? Right at that moment, Caleb's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID, his face turning pale. He lost the mood to mock me and rushed to a corner to answer the call. The group of rich heirs looked at each other, then at me. Their eyes changed, holding a hint of fear. This woman's mouth was cursed. Stella had been watching this side the whole time. Seeing Caleb humiliated by me and leaving, she grabbed 2 glasses of red wine and walked over. Sister, please don't blame Caleb. He is just straightforward. She handed me a glass of wine, a cunning glint in her eyes. Classic plot device incoming. The system shouted, "Splash it back! Strike first to gain the upper hand!" I took the wine glass but didn't drink. I placed it directly on the table next to me. I don't drink alcohol. Alcohol paralyzes the nervous system and affects judgment. Stella gritted her teeth. Suddenly, she slipped. Her whole body lunged toward me. The red wine in her hand was about to splash all over me. Like a ninja, I dodged to the side with agile reflexes. Splash. Thud. Stella fell flat on the floor. The red wine spilled all over her, completely ruining her expensive couture gown. The entire hall went silent. All eyes turned this way. Stella lay sprawled on the ground, stunned for a second, then burst into tears. Sister, why did you push me? I know you are jealous of me, but today is my birthday. Whispers rose from the crowd like a tide. Who is this girl? So vicious? I heard she is a poor relative. Jealousy is ugly. Mr. and Mrs. Vance rushed over. Seeing the scene, Mr. Vance didn't say a word. He immediately raised his hand to slap me. You insolent brat! I calmly caught his wrist. Although I am not strong, I learned the skill of using leverage to deflect force. Mr. Vance, before you get physical, I advise you to look at the evidence. I pulled a mini GoPro camera from my pocket. To record the delicious food tonight for my vlog, I turned on the recording mode for the entire process. The scene just now must have been captured very clearly. It was Miss Stella Vance who tripped over her own left foot with her right foot. She was at least 10 inches away from me. I shook the camera in my hand. Do I need to connect to the big screen right now and replay that spectacular moment for everyone to see? Stella's crying choked in her throat. She trembled on the ground, unsure if it was from cold or fear. Mr. Vance's hand hung in midair. He couldn't hit me, but he couldn't put it down gracefully either. I smiled and looked around. Ladies and gentlemen, although I am just a distant relative, I also have rights regarding my image and reputation. Who was the one who said I was vicious just now? Would you like to exchange words with my lawyer? No one dared to speak. Is this a country bumpkin? She is clearly a walking legal department carrying a body cam. The birthday party ended in chaos. Stella became the laughingstock of the city. Not only did she fall like a dog eating dirt, but she also tried to frame someone and got exposed on the spot. The atmosphere in the Vance villa became incredibly heavy. Late that night, there was a knock on my door. Grace entered. Her eyes were swollen. She had clearly been crying. She sat on the edge of the bed, looking at me reading a book. Her voice was hoarse. Serena, do you hate us very much? I closed the book titled Nonviolent Communication and looked at her calmly. Mom, hate is an intense emotion. It consumes a lot of energy. I don't hate. This is simply an objective perception based on biological relations. Grace clutched her chest. looking even more uncomfortable. "Why do you always talk so coldly? I am your mother. Can't you be a little more like Stella? Act spoiled with me, or even get angry?" I sighed. "Mom, Stella acts spoiled because that is the tool she uses to obtain resources and a sense of security. I am used to relying on myself. If you want me to act spoiled, that is additional emotional labor. And since it is additional, you need to pay extra." Grace was stunned. Her tears hung suspended on her face, looking both funny and pathetic. Pay extra? I handed her a tissue. I mean, everyone expresses affection differently. My logical style might not fit this family's highly emotional atmosphere. So, to make everyone's life easier, once I have enough resources, I will move out. Move out? Grace panicked. "You are the eldest daughter of the Vance family. Where would you go?" "To a place where I don't need to act, don't need to fight, where I just need to work hard to live well." In that moment, I saw true fear in Grace's eyes. She finally realized she might really lose this biological daughter, not because of hatred, but because of a lack of care. Just as the Vance parents were drowning in doubt, the guardian of the Vance family treasure returned. Ethan Vance, my brother. He was known as a sister con, obsessed with protecting his sister. As soon as he arrived and heard Stella was bullied, he stormed into my room. "Serena Vance, you vicious woman! How dare you bully Stella?" Ethan was tall and handsome, but right now his face was ferocious like a mad dog guarding its food. With one sweep of his arm, he overturned my desk. Crash! The system yelled, "Fight back! Use pepper spray!" I calmly looked at the mess on the floor. I took out my phone and snapped a photo. I said clearly, "IKEA desk, original price $200, depreciated value $120. Laptop dropped and broken, estimated repair cost $500. Mental damage will be calculated later. Young Master Vance, will you Venmo or Zelle me?" Ethan laughed in anger. "You are this obsessed with money? Do you think I lack this pocket change? I tell you, in this house, only Stella is my sister. Get out if you know what's good for you, or I will make it impossible for you to live in this city." I nodded and pressed the stop recording button on my phone. Very good. Threatening and intimidation have been recorded. According to the Penal Code, threatening others with serious circumstances can result in detention for 5 to 10 days. Do you want to settle this privately or follow legal procedures? Ethan froze, then became even more furious. He lunged at me to snatch the phone. "You dare record me?" I quickly crawled under the bed. I had set this up beforehand as a safe shelter. The space under the bed was very narrow. A large man like him couldn't fit. I screamed from under the bed. "Help! Murder! Someone is trying to kill the witness. The Vance heir wants to kill his biological sister." My tragic voice echoed through the upper floor. The servants came running. Even Mr. and Mrs. Vance were alerted. They saw Ethan lying flat on the floor, trying to drag me out, looking like a cat trying to catch a mouse. The scene was ridiculous. Mr. Vance shouted, "Ethan! What are you doing?" I poked my head out from under the bed. My hair was messy, but my eyes were bright. "Dad, brother said he wants to make it impossible for me to live in this city. I can't figure it out. I haven't done anything illegal. Why would I be blacklisted? Or can the Vance family now cover the sky with one hand and ignore the law?" The hat of ignoring the law was placed firmly on their heads. Mr. Vance's face turned green. The Vance Group was preparing for an IPO. The thing they feared most was this kind of negative news. "Slap, Mr. Vance slapped Ethan across the face. "Get back to your room and reflect on yourself." Ethan held his face, looking at me in disbelief. I raised 2 fingers, making a V for victory sign at him. "Want to fight me? I am an intellectual gangster. I have memorized labor laws and criminal laws since I entered the workforce." Ethan was grounded, but he was clearly unconvinced. A few days later, taking advantage of the empty house, he tricked me into the garage, locked the door, and cut the power. The garage was pitch black, cold, and damp. From outside the door, he laughed arrogantly. "Serena Vance, reflect in there. When you beg for mercy, I will let you out. The system cried. Host! Cry! Bang on the door! I touched my pocket and turned on my phone flashlight. Cry and beg? Why should I beg? It is quiet and cool here. No sound of Stella crying. No sound of Grace nagging. This is truly an ideal working environment. I found a discarded cardboard box, flattened it on the ground, sat down, turned on my phone's hotspot, and connected my laptop. Luckily, I always carry my laptop bag with me. In those few hours, I completed several freelance translation orders and summarized recent stock market trends. My work efficiency was extremely high. 5 hours later, Mr. Vance came home and found me missing. After questioning Ethan, he opened the garage door. The door opened. Light flooded in. Ethan thought he would see me in tears, mentally collapsed. But no. He saw me smiling kindly at the laptop screen, my eyes full of the light of hope, looking like a biological aunt watching her nephew marry a rich family. It went up. It went up again. This swing trade is amazing. I closed my laptop, stretched, and looked at the group of people standing open-mouthed at the door. Oh, everyone is here? Perfect timing. I am starving. What's for dinner tonight? Ethan pointed at me as if seeing a ghost. You? Aren't you afraid of the dark? Afraid of the dark? I stood up and dusted myself off. I used to work overtime overnight all the time. I have even experienced power outages in the office. This kind of darkness is nothing. As long as there is electricity, internet, and a computer, I can live well. After a series of chaotic events, the mental state of the Vance family deteriorated rapidly. Grace, tormented by guilt and anxiety, finally collapsed and was hospitalized. Stella sat by the hospital bed, crying hysterically. She couldn't even swallow water. Mr. Vance and Ethan looked gloomy and clumsy, not knowing what to do. I arrived at the hospital. First, I pulled Stella away. Stop crying. You are disturbing the patient's rest. Then, I skillfully found the attending physician, asked about the condition, reviewed the test results, arranged for a private nurse, handled the admission procedures, and even chatted with the head nurse to ensure extra care. Everything was done in an orderly manner, as if I were managing a project. When Grace woke up, she saw me peeling an apple. The apple peel was thin and even, hanging in one continuous piece. Serena. I cut the apple into small pieces and handed them to her. The doctor said you have excessive internal heat, combined with menopausal syndrome. You need rest. I have already paid the hospitalization fees using Mr. Vance's card. I also hired a premium caregiver for $800 a day. Grace looked at me, tears falling again. Serena, you are still the most filial one. Stella stood by, her eyes red with jealousy. Sister, you are just showing off. Mom is sick, and you haven't shed a single tear. I wiped the fruit knife and spoke calmly. Do tears cure diseases? If crying could cure illness, I would be willing to cry an entire Pacific Ocean. But medically speaking, tears do nothing against bacteria or viruses, except replenish water and release emotions. In this situation, what is needed is decisiveness and effective action. Mr. Vance looked at me with complex eyes. For the first time, he realized that the daughter he had always ignored turned out to be the most reliable person in the family. It was just that her reliability was so cold, it made him shiver. My taking care of Grace at the hospital caught Caleb's attention. He came to visit, actually to see Stella, but accidentally saw me speaking fluent English with a specialist about treatment options abroad. At that moment, the professional aura radiating from me stunned him. Caleb blocked my path. Serena Vance, I didn't expect you to have this side. I glanced at him. Mr. Cole, do you need something? If you want to ask for the 1 million back, sorry, no chance. Caleb's face darkened. Who cares about that money? I mean, maybe we should start over. Suddenly, he felt that compared to Stella, who only knew how to cry all day, a smart, rational, and capable woman like me was truly attractive and suitable to be the young mistress of the Cole family. The system shouted, "The scumbag is turning back! Host, slap him in the face! Tell him he isn't worthy!" I took a step back, my face full of disgust. "Mr. Cole, this behavior is a breach of contract. We have annulled the engagement, and the payment has been settled. Now you want to come back and eat the grass you spit out? In business, this is called fraud, and I have no interest in recycling trash, even if it is gold-plated trash." Caleb was furious. "Serena Vance, don't be ungrateful. Dignity is something you earn yourself, not something others give you." I walked past him and strode away. Behind us, Stella appeared just in time to see the whole scene. She caught Caleb watching my retreating figure, and the fire of jealousy instantly ignited in her eyes. "Very good. The dog-eat-dog show is about to begin." As my position in the Vance family became more solid, mainly because I left them speechless with my logic, the system started to glitch. It realized the original angst script was impossible to execute. The villains not only couldn't make things difficult for me, but were also driven to mental disorder by me. The system cried, "Host, I beg you to go crazy. The script collapse rate has reached 90%. If this continues, the world will have to restart." I was looking at real estate information. I had accumulated enough for a down payment on a small apartment of my own. System, don't you understand? The foundation of this world isn't emotional angst. It is economics determining everything. As long as I have money and ability, I write the script. The system beeped twice, then went silent. A moment later, it switched to a mechanical voice. "Detected that the host has complete logical thinking. System upgrading. Upgraded to money-making system." I laughed. Exactly. Knowing the times is what makes a hero. Finally, Stella couldn't sit still anymore. She realized Caleb was becoming colder to her and frequently asking about me. So, she played her trump card. She claimed she was pregnant. Of course, it was fake. She took a fake ultrasound report and made a scene at the Vance house, forcing Mr. and Mrs. Vance to pressure Caleb into marrying her immediately. Caleb was riding a tiger he couldn't get off. He didn't want to marry, but he couldn't back down due to public opinion and pressure from the Vance family. He had to nod. Before the wedding day, Stella ran to my room to gloat. "Sister, no matter how you seduce Caleb, the final winner is still me. I am pregnant with his child. I am the only young mistress of the Cole family." I was packing my luggage. My new apartment was ready. Looking at her smug face, I just found it funny. "Congratulations. I wish you two to be locked together tightly. Sister, aren't you jealous? Why should I be jealous of a returned product?" I pointed at the ultrasound report. "This forgery is quite skilled. It's a pity there is a basic error. The size of the gestational sac doesn't match the gestational weeks. Next time you want to fake it, find a more professional designer." Stella's face changed instantly. You are talking nonsense." "Nonsense or not, a hospital check will reveal everything." I zipped up my suitcase. "But that has nothing to do with me anymore. I am moving out tomorrow. I won't participate in your melodramatic family drama anymore." On the day I moved out, the entire Vance family came to see me off. Grace cried and said sincerely, "Serena, do you really have to go? The house is so big." "Mom, distance creates beauty." I hugged her. "I will visit often, bringing gifts like a proper guest." Mr. Vance handed me a card. "There is some money in here. Take it for protection." I didn't refuse. I took it. "Thank you, Dad. I will treat this as an investment in your retirement fund. I will report the profits periodically." Ethan stood aside, looking uncomfortable. "Hey, if anyone bullies you in the future, just use my name. No need. Calling the police is faster." I pulled my suitcase and walked out of the Vance Villa gate. The sun was golden and bright. The air was fresh. The system cheered happily in my head. Ding! Account received $5 million in dividends. I looked back at the luxurious but suffocating villa behind me. Goodbye, dramatic script of the real and fake heiress. From now on, I am a wealthy woman with solid logic, stable emotions, and tens of millions in assets. As for Stella and Caleb, I heard that on the wedding day, Caleb discovered Stella faked the pregnancy and immediately called off the wedding. The Vance family and the Cole family turned against each other, and their stock prices plummeted. But that is another story. After all, I have blocked them all. This is very normal. Meaningless socializing is better replaced by making money. This is a fictional story collected and edited by us for entertainment and educational purposes, to promote emotional awareness, empathy, and understanding. Absolutely no intention of hatred, offense, or harm. The story of Serena teaches us that in the face of injustice and bias, emotional outbursts often lead nowhere. Instead, rationality, self-worth, and independence are the strongest weapons. Serena didn't need to fight for the love of people who didn't value her. She chose to build her own life and success. What about you? If you were in Serena's situation, would you have taken the money and left like she did? Or would you have stayed to fight for your place in the family? Please leave your opinion in the comments below so we can discuss it together. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Goodbye and see you in the next video.